Hi, friends. I'm Zach.
I'm Mitch.
And we are an excellent little podcast.
We are here presenting you a little movie podcast starring Zach and Mitch.
Wait, we're doing a podcast?
Yes, we are. And we're going back in time, back to the 50s.
Back to the 50s, not to the brighter side of the 50s.
No, the very darker side of the 50s.
Very, very darker side of the 50s. One of the darkest stories to actually come out of the 50s. If
Yeah,
we're kinda
but a
honest.
start to the civil rights movement.
That it was. It's pretty much the spark that's almost
Stirred it.
So,
What we're talking about is the new film Till that was released a couple of weeks ago. It was released a limited release, but then now it's starting to be nationwide, starting this weekend and next weekend.
Yep, and it is produced by Orion Pictures. Director, and we are so sorry for mispronouncing your name, but Chinoin
Chikui?
Chikuu?
Yeah, I think that seems about right. So
Yeah.
I thought the directing style for this was something different that I haven't seen in a while.
It was,
Yeah.
It's very in your face, yet very respectful.
Yes.
And empowering-ish.
Yeah.
Like very at the end, very empowering, but like very also just kind of brutally honest. I
Yeah.
really, really loved what the shots that she picked out for this, and it helps that she also wrote the script for it too with Michael Riley and Keith Beauchamp.
Yes.
So I feel like since she knew, well, I mean, it's a historical event, so we all if you're familiar with the event, you know where it's going, but she had a very great insight into who these people were, I feel like, and knew what shots that she needed to get to convey this story.
And you also got to give credit to Michael Riley and Keith Beauchamp for taking on this very difficult story to tell and adding it to the screen, because it could have gone either way with this script.
Oh, yeah, 100%.
But they nailed it very, very well. The summary: in 1955, after Emmett Till is murdered in a brutal lynching, his mother vows to expose the racism behind the attack while working to have those involved brought to justice. Thank you, IMDb.
Thank you, IMDb.
All right.
So,
I was going to say, go ahead.
Yeah, for us for the newcomers here, we do our reviews a little bit differently around here. We split it up into 3 sections. Our first section is going to be our non-spoiler section, where we talk about some non-spoilerly things, talk about cast performances and some other aspects of the movie without going into too much spoilery detail. Then we move on to our review, which Mitch will go ahead and hit upon once we actually get there. But after that, if you want to go ahead and leave, that's okay, because then we're going to go ahead and move into our spoiler section. So if you don't want to be spoiled, that's the spot where you can go ahead and leave, but we hope you stick around with us.
Yeah.
So our first part is going to be our non-spoiler section. So Mitch, go ahead and talk about what your first thoughts about Till.
This film can get a little tough to get through, I will be honest with everybody. So I would say be prepared, because this film is very, very tough. Yeah. However, I will also say this film was very Oscar worthy. And I'm talking this is my humble opinion. I think it's definitely going to give Best Picture a run for its money.
Sure.
In my opinion. Best Actress too. I don't think Best Director quite. It's possible.
I could see a nomination.
I definitely see a nomination.
I don't know if it's going to take a win, but
No.
I think Chinoku, or let me make sure that I'm saying this right. Chinane is a strong contender for it, for sure.
But overall, a great film. I definitely recommend it for anybody and everybody to see this film.
Yeah.
But what about you, Zach?
Yeah, it really is a very strong film. It doesn't really hold back any punches. It is honest when it needs to be. It's brutal when it needs to be. It really dives deep into the very seated racism that was kind of part of this country's upbringing and stayed all the way through, even that we're seeing now, but as deeply rooted as it was in the South in the 50s.
Yeah,
so,
especially for a state like Mississippi.
Especially for Mississippi, which they shot on location for
They
a
did.
lot of it. So it was really interesting to be there to see that.
Yeah.
But I thought the movie as a whole was really great. The performances were astounding. there were multiple wonderful performances all around, but really it really comes down to two people, I feel like, which were gonna make or break this film. The first one we should definitely talk about is Danielle Deadwyler, who plays Mammy Till Mobley. What a
powerhouse.
Daunting task to take on such a person. Because Mammy took her grief of losing her son and pushed it for something so much stronger than I know I would have the strength to. If I lost my son due to how brutally murdered he was, I don't think I would even have the strength to do half of the things that she did. And
I'd have to agree.
Ability Danielle was able to actually portray and dive deep into that person's life and into the mannerisms and the just state of mind is a feat and worth at least an Oscar nomination.
Yeah, I definitely agree. And you hit the nail right on the head with every little point. I want to talk about Jalen Hall as Emmett Till, nicknamed Bo. That kid is going places. I'm going to say like that kid's going places. He did phenomenal for a character, or not just a character, a real life child that was brutally murdered, and he just brought this wonderful presence of Emmett Till. I mean, I felt like when I was watching the film, I was watching Emmett Till on the screen, and it was such a beautiful performance. And when what happens, you can't help but tear up because it's so sad. You watch it happen through Jalen Hall's performance, and you watch it through Danielle Deadwyler's performance in Mamie, and you also see it in Mamie's eyes too. It's literally like you're watching histories.
It's one of the first shots that you just see her tearing up.
Yeah,
like it's amazing just how much life and light that Jalen brings to the screen, and just how much depression and sadness and power comes from Danielle. You hit that perfectly. There's really not much I can really add to that.
But I want to talk about one quick thing. The setting of this film, it's a tough setting. It really is. So I would say the majority of the film is set in Mississippi. Would you agree?
Yeah, I would agree.
There are other bits in the film that's set in Chicago and Illinois, which, you and I are from Illinois. But the Mississippi scenes, every single time that film steps foot in 1950s segregated Mississippi, you just cringe.
Yeah.
And it's like it's
almost a character in the film itself.
I'm going to call it is. It is a character.
Because you feel it just as even on the train, like as they move, it's so poignant.
Yes.
And you just, the fact that they shot this on location is another, I feel like, addition, because it gives precedence.
Yeah.
And I don't want to say it gives respect, because Emmett really was murdered there, but it gives it a sense of realism of actually shooting on location for that, because it's shooting on a soundstage for something like this just doesn't seem and feel right.
Well, they filmed at the shop where he goes.
Yeah.
They also they did this for the ABC miniseries that happened earlier this year. They had, I know this includes the setting, but it's a prop. They actually have Emmett's father's ring.
His
in
actual
the show.
real.
Yeah, that is real. That is the ring that he was wearing when he was killed. So everything in this film is authentic.
Yeah.
Like it's real.
And thought was put behind it.
Absolutely.
And that's the biggest thing.
Yeah.
But
that's the end of our non-spoiler
That wraps
section.
up our non-spoiler section for sure. Mitch, would you be okay with running down how we review movies?
Yes, sure. So we have 3 categories and 2 phantom categories. We have our least one is Feed to the Dog Jazz, who is sleeping. But as you can tell early on, it's not it. But the way that it is, we didn't enjoy the film. We definitely recommend you seeing it, though, and form your own opinion. The second one needs to cook a little more. Yep. Maybe change in actor, change in director, change in script, or change in anything. Meaning it was okay, but we either didn't really like it or didn't really not like it. It's just an okay film.
Yeah.
And the last is we ate it up, meaning we definitely enjoyed this film. We highly recommend it. We want you to see it in theaters. Mm-hmm. If you can't, then as soon as it's available on streaming, find it on streaming.
Yeah, and that was, I'll go ahead and bring this kind of up now because we had to see this film separately just due to our schedules. Mm-hmm. My theater only had like 5-6 people in it.
Mine was about the same,
which was so unfortunate. Yeah. Which I get, it's a longer movie for sure, but I was really kind of taken aback that like only a couple people showed up for my showing.
All right, so Zach, would you like to get your review out?
Yeah. So I smiled, I laughed at the lighter points of this film. I cried at the harder points of this film. My jaw dropped at one point because I was shocked what was actually being shown on screen at one point. And at first I was like, this maybe went a little bit too far, but then they explained that this is actually exactly what Mamie aimed for and wanted, so it made sense to why they included what they did in here, which we'll get into our spoiler section on that. So with the amount of power and drive that this movie had, I absolutely ate this movie up. There are a couple of weak points that don't make it one of our higher Phantom ones for me, but it's a very high eat it up for me. This is a definite recommend and definitely Oscar worthy for any nominations.
Yeah, so I'm actually gonna have to disagree with you, and I'm gonna say this is a clean plate for me, because I couldn't find anything necessarily wrong with the film. I can't. I keep going back to it, and there's nothing wrong with this film.
That's fair.
I can't find anything, and from everybody, the director, the screenwriters, the cast, the crew, you could just feel the amount of pressure they were to make this the best film that they could do, and they succeeded in that. So I have to go with a clean plate for me, because to me, they did exactly what they needed to do. They knew the pressure because this has been 67 years since Emmett was killed. Yeah. And from everything from start to finish, I felt this amount of emotion, every shot, every line, every shot, every scene, everything. It's almost like we were watching history unfold. Sure. So I got to go a clean plate, meaning this film is near perfection.
I think in you talking about it and selling it and me trying to think back, because I thought I remembered a couple of things I wasn't really a huge fan of, but now that I think about it, I think you might have turned me. I think I'm actually going to have to change my review on this.
You're not going to do that because I said it, are you?
No. But you explained it very succinctly, and I actually agree. I really genuinely do agree with you. I think I will change my review from a eat it up to a clean plate, because you really are right about that. There's because I thought I remembered that there were some things that I had issues with, but as you were talking, I was looking back and I was like, was there anything? And then I just can't remember anything. Yeah, so I have to agree with you. This is a clean plate.
Yeah, I really think this has it needs to be nominated for Best Picture. It has to be. If it doesn't, there's going to be a big problem. Yeah, in my opinion. Will it win? I hope it does.
I hope so.
But if it's not nominated, there is a big problem. With the Academy Awards.
Oh, 100%.
In my opinion. Okay, so
that's our review.
Thank you so much for joining us, my friends. If you wish, go ahead and email us at elpodcastmz@gmail.com. Let us know your thoughts. Let us know what you thought of the movie. And if you want us to hear anything else, if you want to visit us on this show, feel free. Shoot us an email. But it's time, my friends. Let's do a soft alarm.
Yeah, no, we in fact, I really won't do an alarm for this one. This is going to be the official start to our spoiler section for this one.
Welcome to our spoiler section, my friends. And we are starting with a very sour start, and that is the body of Emmett Till after he is killed.
So I have to commend the actual like cinematography for the reveal of this moment, because I think it's within human nature to have the morbid curiosity of just how bad was it, but it's rough, y'all.
Yeah. I will also say, sorry to cut you off.
No,
Zach.
you're fine.
I also, after seeing this film, do recommend you. I don't recommend it, but I wish people would look at the pictures of the actual body.
Correct,
because it's very graphic.
Because again, Mammy specifically wanted people to see Emmett's body. She wanted Bo's body to be seen because
of how bad
it is a mark of how much deeply rooted hatred was for black people in the South. And the only way that you can actually believe it is if you see it.
Yeah.
Because it is so bad, ladies and gentlemen, that it's barely a body at that point. You see basically the entire body from top to bottom.
Yeah, and it's swollen, and
it is there.
There's no eyes.
Well, one eye is there, but one isn't.
Yeah.
The gunshot wound in the head is very prevalent on the left hand side. His feet are so swollen they're really not even feet anymore, to the point you can only disguise that they're feet because of the toes.
The whole entire body is swollen.
Is absolutely swollen and waterlogged. It's absolutely terrible and animalistic what these creatures, because they really shouldn't be called even humans, for what they did to Emmett. It's disgusting.
Yeah. So I have to ask, Zach, do you think it's okay if we mention what exactly happened to Emmett?
Yeah, out of respect for Emmett, we should exactly say how it all kind of went down.
The way it happens is Emmett is at his cousin's in Mississippi, spending a couple weeks.
Yeah, about 2 weeks,
and they go to a gift shop, grocery store,
to the local market,
and there's a white woman at the counter, and Emmett is a very sweet kid. He never grew up in the South in segregation, but he lived in Chicago.
Yeah, he lived in segregation, but he never really saw what happened, the harshness of segregation.
And the film, so you hear conflicting things. Some people say he gave a wolf whistle to her. Some people say it's not true. I feel, because the film shows that he did.
Yeah,
but not in a not in a mean way at all. So
all that we can prove is that him and this woman had an interaction.
Yes.
We believe, it is believed that the woman did lie in court of exactly what happened.
No, that is
is almost like fact. And it goes on she has never said on a record that she lied, but I believe other people said that she lied about it and whatnot.
So she never went on actual reporter, but she did go to a magazine and say, yes, she lied.
The killers did, but
I remember hearing an actual review.
Gotcha.
I watched an actual documentary.
Okay.
And yes,
she did. She flat out. Okay. Gotcha.
It was, she wrote it in either a memoir, a magazine, or something. She did say she lied.
Gotcha.
That is for sure a thing.
Yeah.
So that happens, and she goes to her husband, and they kidnap Bo, and they pistol whip him almost to the brink of death. And then
That's when the actual lynching itself happens. And
they lynching, and then in order to actually do the deed, they shoot him in the head.
Yeah.
And at the end,
they dispose the body by throwing it in the river.
not just in the river, but he is tied on a very heavy fan.
Yeah.
In order for him to sink to the very bottom of, I want to say it's the Mississippi River.
Yeah.
And the only way that he was able to be recovered was the fan washed up on not a shore, but like the bank. And I think what I want to say, the way the documentary I watched is somebody was fishing, and they saw his foot, and then they ended up bringing the body, and it really,
Again,
it's a shame.
It's
It
a
really is.
shame because Emmett suffered a terrible deal. This was not a merciful, quick beating. This was intentional. It was slow, and it was morbid.
Yeah.
Now, how they shot that scene, I will give credit. It was at least respectful for Emmett, because it was shot outside of the barn
at a distance,
and you could hear his screams and understand exactly what was going down, and leaving it only to the imagination of what was actually going down.
Well, the director also said that there will not be any African American will be seen being violated, like violence, hit, anything in this film.
Yeah.
Out of respect for Emmett Till. And also, that's not the story that they wanted to tell.
Correct. It's not a Quentin Tarantino gore fest, violence fest, blood orgy. No. It's talking and making points about the injustice of and the failure of the public system of Emmett,
which actually goes into our next topic and is the ruling. And the film shows the majority of the court and the trial, literally almost word for word and day for day, and the evidence is substantial. Like, now the defense, because it was the state and the defense, the state got everything right, did exactly what they needed to do, asked the right questions, got the right stuff, and the defense, they didn't even have anything. And so, a long story short, because it pains me to say this, and it shows how corrupt the system was back in the 50s and how bad it was, the perpetrators, the murderers, they were found
They were acquitted. Yes,
they were acquitted after the jury, which was predominantly, it was all white.
Yeah, all white men.
And the judge was a Southern white man.
Yep.
And they were acquitted after the jury only deliberated for less than an hour.
Yeah.
So
their minds were made up before the trial started.
So my friends, I say again, you will leave this film very, very frustrated.
Yeah. Well, especially after the credits, because it does roll through saying how the official lynching law was not passed at all during that time.
No.
It took 67 years. It took until the beginning of this year,
2022.
of 2022, for the lynching law to actually be made illegal.
Yeah.
What the actual fuck?
I think it goes to show you that, and correct me if I'm wrong, Zach, a lot of people haven't learned.
Correct.
A lot of people.
The fact that it's still controversial is because the fact that people were fighting this law for so long, because lynching laws have been struck down multiple times, and it took a modern day lynching to actually get this thing passed.
Yeah.
What the actual fuck?
So again, and I honestly, it went all the way back to 2016 when a certain somebody was elected president.
Yeah.
And that's when the MAGA group came out, showed all that support. So
Yep.
it just, again, my friends, this is not political in any way, but it goes to show you that we have not learned our lessons. So for those of you at home, learn, educate yourself, really, really, really research, watch films, watch documentaries, read books, go to the library, find out all this stuff.
Factual
Factual
films.
stuff. Yes.
Not hearsay, not conspiracy, fact.
Yes. Thank you for correcting me, Zach. But again, educate yourself. Those of you young people at home right now watching and listening, you are the future. Be the change.
And
We can do this together.
because it's a hard thing to stand up to your elders. It's a hard thing to stand up to a lot of people. But if you do your research, if someone says you cannot read something, read it.
Yes.
That should be your first instinct. If someone says think this way,
Think
look at
something else,
look
yeah.
look at the opposite way.
Yeah.
You don't have to agree with the opposite way,
No.
but at least consider it.
Yes. I will agree.
Look at it. Even for the most corruptible, terrible things that have happened in this country, I had to look at it first and see, okay, where is their thinking going? And I made my thoughts and opinions based on that. I had to take a good look at Donald Trump at the beginning of his presidency and of his followers.
I also did that.
I had to take a good look at them in order to understand what their message was, and then I made my decisions on how I was going to react accordingly to them. We can override hate no matter what side of the political stance you are, right, left, centrist,
Anything.
conservative, leftist, Democrat, Republican,
Liberal.
doesn't matter. We can still come together to beat hate.
Yeah.
And hate like this, hate like was forced upon Emmett Till, has no place in any party.
No.
Absolutely none.
No. And for those of you at home, we're in the middle of an election. Get out there and vote. Vote.
November 8th is when you do it,
Yep.
friends.
And early voting is available for some states.
For some states it is.
I think here in Florida.
Florida, yeah, it stops on November 5th, I
Yeah.
believe. So
But just get out and vote. You're I know a lot of
and
people
not
say
not just on the federal level, ladies and gentlemen. It starts in your towns and in your just local elections. Who is your mayor? Who is your chamber of commerce? Who starts at
Who's your sheriff?
Who's your sheriff? It starts at a local level, friends. So you have to make sure you do your research on each of your political choices and make informed decisions so that we can continue to get better.
Well, that is our show. We appreciate you listening and tuning in and watching us. One quick side note. This, and Zach, you can agree. This episode is dedicated to the memory of Emmett Till and Mamie Till Mobley.
Yep.
We appreciate you all listening and tuning in. If you have any questions, comments, concerns, or suggestions, or if you want to just shoot us an email us at elpodcastmz@gmail.com. We thank you so much for watching and listening.
Yep. We thank you so much for continuing to support us. We thank you for all those friends that continue to support the good fight and the good cause. We thank the NAACP for all the work that they have done for Black Americans and the work that they have done and continue to do. And we thank everyone, whether you agree with our views or not, for even listening and tuning in.
Yeah.
So thank you so much, my friends. Until the next time, I am Zach.
I am Mitch.
And we are an excellent little podcast.